The 18 Inevitable Factors. Xiefeng. Alright, we already know that there are 18 inevitable aspects of life that are beyond our control. So, what are these 18 inevitabilities composed of? They are karmic debts from past lives, ancestral inheritance, genetic factors, cosmic forces, Feng Shui, parental behavior, family environment, social environment, spouse, children, diet, dietary and living habits, mutations, beliefs, 7 emotions and 6 desires, appearances of the material world, personality, demonic pranks, celestial changes. The above 18 factors are the mainstream, each with about 10 subsidiary streams on average, thus constituting 180 factors. These 180 factors interact and intersect with each other to form nearly 1,015 factors. This vast number of factors all affect human beings and have an impact. This is the root cause of humanity's perennial inability to fathom the mysteries of the universe and life, and it also accounts for the deep-seated reasons for the differences in individual lives and the inevitable factors of people's inability to effectively manage themselves. These factors, not to mention analyzing them one by one, even if a person counts them every day from the age of 3 for 24 hours a day, they wouldn't finish counting in 100 years. Going back 5,000 years and then forward another 5,000 years, in the river of human history, you won't find two people exactly the same in all aspects. Each person has their own life path, which is inevitable. Knowing this inevitability, accepting it, and living according to it makes you a human celestial being. Let's set aside the subsidiary streams and analyze the mainstream factors that constitute inevitability. Karmic debts from past lives. Water has a source, trees have roots. Water circulates, roots grow and multiply. Everything in the universe has a source and cannot appear out of thin air. The total energy of the universe is constant. It neither increases nor decreases, but only transforms from one form to another. The so-called something from nothing does not mean appearing out of thin air. For example, a television set didn't exist before, but now it's manufactured. This is something from nothing. But without the designer's mind and the raw materials to manufacture the television set, it wouldn't appear out of thin air. It is often said that life is given by our parents, but this is a misunderstanding. Parents at most only give the body that carries life. A person's life exists eternally and continuously transforms in 10-dimensional spaces. It's just that the form carrying life is different. Animals, plants, and humans are all life forms, but the form, appearance, carrying life is different. Humans cannot create life, so life is not given by parents. Cloning does not create new life. It is just a replication technology. Without the original, nothing can be replicated, cloned. Humans have past lives. Please read the article, The Reincarnated Girl, in the magazine Reader to understand. If you think this article is fabricated, it's okay. Then ask the people around you if they have ever had a feeling of familiarity with a certain place, such as arriving at a place and vaguely feeling like they have been there before, especially in places where there has been little change. Due to the rapid development and change of modern cities, people's feeling of familiarity is becoming increasingly faint. The vast majority of people have no memory of their past lives, but just because there is no memory doesn't mean we should deny past lives. Most people have no memory of the process of their growth in their mother's womb about 10 days before birth. But we should not deny the fact that we spent a few days in our mother's womb just because we don't have memories of this part. We may not believe in the stories and teachings of the Bible, the Quran, or Buddhist scriptures, or in the views of theologians, but we should at least believe in the logical reasoning and facts of science, right? If you don't believe in anything, not even in facts, then you can only be said to be incredibly foolish and unable to understand. Let's get back to the main topic and look at the impact of karmic debts from past lives on our current life. First, imagine any prisoner in a prison during peacetime. Why is he imprisoned? It's not without reason. If you trace his history, you will find that his current predicament is not caused by a sudden impulse or overnight. When you trace the root cause, you must land on personality. In a sense, personality is destiny. So how is personality formed? Is it inherited from parents? If parents can pass on personality to their children, then the personality of all children born to the same parents should be the same. But in fact, this is not the case. The personality difference between siblings is quite large. Even the personality of twins and conjoined people are different. This means that personality is not inherited from parents. Personality comes from a person's past life. For example, if the carrier of your life in your previous life was a mouse, you would like to steal. You steal not entirely for food and clothing. You also know that stealing is easy to be chased and beaten, but you like it in your heart and can't help yourself. People who study criminal psychology and criminology know that some people commit crimes inevitably, which is related to the carrier of their life in their previous life. Those who are cunning, deceitful, and good at deceiving people, their previous life's life carrier is a fox. Those who can bear humiliation and heavy burdens and are willing to work hard, their previous life's life carrier is a cow. People with shy, timid, cautious, and fearful personality, the carrier of life in their previous life is either a small antelope or a small deer. People with dull, inflexible, and persistent personality, the carrier of life in their previous life may be a plant. Like Hitler, Stalin, Mao Zedong, Roosevelt, Churchill, etc. are released from the negative black hole body. Sakyamuni, Muhammad, etc. come from the Elysium world. Some artists, musicians, etc. come from the 10,000-year world. Philosophers, thinkers, writers, etc. with perfect spirituality, reasonable, optimistic, and friendly come from the 1,000-year world. Most ordinary people just transform space-time. Their life carrier in their previous life is still human. I have talked about the cause and effect relationship many times. All fruits have causes, and nothing will appear out of thin air. To put it in profound words, it is called Tao. To put it in simple words, it is called karma. The Buddha said, good begets good, evil begets evil. It's not that there's no retribution, it's just that the time has not yet come. When the time comes, retribution is certain. It basically summarizes the transformation and reincarnation relationship and law in the 36-dimensional spaces. For example, you have worked hard for 10 years and earned a sum of money, but it was cheated, stolen, or robbed by others. You are angry, painful, and puzzled. In fact, there is no need. What you lose is money, but what you get is spirituality. What you lose will be transformed into treasure and stored in a higher level of space. In the next life, where you store more treasure, you will go there. Those who get your money will plant the cause in the lower level of space, and after death, they must go to the space where they should go to pick the fruit. The process of suffering and sinning is the process of storing life treasures, and is the process of getting positive results. To gain is to lose is to gain. Those who obtain wealth through deception, extortion, theft and robbery, corruption and bribery, they are happy, secretly pleased, comfortable, and seem to have no retribution even when they are old. But when they die, their life will fall into the lower world, such as the animal world, and even they may directly fall into the inflamed layer. Their suffering will be unimaginable. Some may fall into the livestock layer, become your family's cattle and horses, for you to drive and slaughter. I clearly tell everyone that this is not a spiritual victory method like AQ or self-deception. This is the great way of the universe. When you practice to a certain level, you will understand. I talked about balance of gain and loss. Gaining is losing, losing is gaining, gaining must pay, paying will definitely gain in the unconventional thinking chapter. This is the law, the inevitable. The world is very fair, but people do not know this principle, and they are just looking for trouble. The conclusion is, your actions yesterday affect your today, your actions today will affect your tomorrow. Your grievances from your previous life affect this life, and your actions in this life will affect your next life. Ancestral inheritance. From our distant ancestors to our parents, each generation passes on its characteristics and a portion of its karmic debts to the next generation. A couple with yellow skin and black hair cannot give birth to a child with blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin, or a child with black skin, curly hair, and a broad nose. Physiological characteristics also include body odor, which is also inherited. Those who have lived in Africa for a period know that body odors vary widely. Some people naturally exude a fragrant scent, some emit a fishy smell, some have a musky odor, and some have no odor at all. What we commonly refer to as body odor comes in more than 20 varieties that I have detected. People with distinctive body odors are generally kind and friendly, but the problem is that this inherited trait may affect their career choices. They may not be able to work in diplomatic positions or in service industries where they interact frequently with others. Who can they blame for this? Our ancestors not only pass on physiological characteristics to us, but also some karmic debts. We often say, sons should repay their father's debts, which not only refers to obvious debts, but also to hidden ones. For example, the debt of conscience. If you harm others by power or stratagem, create false cases, insult and blaspheme the greatest creator, destroy life, damage the environment, or kill the innocent, these debts will not only affect you but also involve your descendants. Let's not talk about distant examples. Just take China's Cultural Revolution as an example. How many innocent children were labeled as Black 5 categories and had their future affected? What crime did they commit? Why did they suffer such insults and discrimination at such a young age? It's not their fault. It's the improper actions of their ancestors that made their children bear some of the karmic debts. Superficially, it was the fault of the Cultural Revolution, but the deeper reason was the sins of the ancestors. If the world were peaceful and the poor had a way to survive, there would be no Qinshang and Wuguang uprising, and there would be no birth of the Communist Party. I don't want to give too many examples for fear that some people cannot bear it. As long as we treat everything objectively and fairly, we won't waste time hating anyone or seeking revenge, but we should focus on our own future and how to be a better person. In conclusion, the karmic debts of ancestors directly affect our present and future. Genes. Genes, which are linear double helix molecular chains connected by bases in the middle, distinguish different species. Whether it's soybeans, wheat, chives, spinach, apples, walnuts, monkeys, humans, and so on, they all maintain their physical, physiological, and chemical properties due to different molecular structures, which is the difference in genes. One species does not transform into another, just as a horse won't be born from a human uterus or a watermelon won't grow from corn seeds. The fundamental reason lies in the molecular structure's incompatibility. From this alone, we know that species are not the result of evolution, but rather creations of the greatest creator. Biologists often mention inherited genes, but genes are not inherited. They are an essential existence, like air, soil, or rocks. For example, every drop of human blood or every strand of flesh contains genes representing the human species. Even if you take blood from thousands of people of different races, the genes contained within are the same. However, for a pig or a mouse, their genes in a drop of blood are different from humans, but the genes of millions of pigs are the same. But the information contained within genes is different, and this information is hereditary. This information is very rich, containing not only the changes in nature and human affairs over thousands of years, but also the intentions of the Creator. Genes control living organisms and lay the foundation for human nature, akin to the palm of the Tathagata Buddha. It's difficult for us to escape from it. Genes can also undergo mutation, which is caused by special external forces or powerful internal forces. External forces like nuclear radiation, and internal forces like the beliefs of enlightened monks. The influence of genes on humans is mandatory, and the root cause of human suffering ultimately lies in genes. Cosmic forces. Cosmic forces refer to the impact on humans of cosmic operations and changes. For example, solar flares, changes in the distance between comets and the Earth, solar and lunar eclipses, the gravitational interaction between the 9 planets and the Earth, the ebb and flow of tides caused by the full moon and new moon, and their effects on human physiology and psychology. Additionally, ultraviolet, infrared, gamma, beta, and heat radiation, geomagnetism, gravity, infrasound, including earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, typhoons, hot and cold air currents, storms, lightning, and thunder, along with the noise from human activities and various electromagnetic waves, all have an impact on humans, affecting not only our physiology but also our psychology and thinking. Humans are powerless against this. Some people are adept at visual thinking, while others excel in abstract thinking. Some have a fiery temper, while others are more reserved. Some are quiet and introverted, while others are outgoing and lively. All of these traits are related to whether certain cosmic forces were active or intense during pregnancy. For example, individuals conceived during storms may have different temperaments compared to those conceived on sunny days. Feng Shui. Primarily, it refers to whether the qi of the earth in the surrounding environment is strong, whether the air is smooth, whether the light is sufficient, whether the field of view is broad, whether the landscape is elegant, whether the structure, the orientation of the house is conducive to lighting and ventilation, whether the water source is rich in minerals, including the undulation of the terrain, the direction of the river flow, and in modern society, it also includes the degree of air and water pollution, etc., all of which have a direct impact on everyone. Other factors in Feng Shui are easy to understand, but the influence of Earth's qi is often overlooked. What is Earth qi? Earth's qi is the nourishing energy brought by the Earth's veins. What are Earth veins? Earth veins are the channels of water and air movement in the inner layer of the Earth caused by the Earth's rotation. Just like the blood vessels in the human body, including capillaries, that allow blood and oxygen to flow due to the beating of the heart. If the blood vessels are blocked and the blood cannot flow, or if the flow is insufficient, the skin can easily become dry and dark, and the organ's ability to function weakens. Observe nature. Some mountains have lush vegetation, some mountains have no grass, some places have abundant groundwater, springs, and a humid climate. Some places are dry, all of which are caused by Earth qi. The grass on the Gobi Desert cannot absorb much Earth qi and relies entirely on rain and dew for nourishment. Once there is a drought, they will all wither. But the grass on the Stone Mountain is not afraid of drought because it can absorb the nourishing qi brought by the continuous groundwater. Generally speaking, places with spring water have strong earth veins and earth qi, and the earth veins of continuous mountains are also continuous, and the earth qi is also strong. As the saying goes, green mountains and clear waters produce talents, poor mountains and bad waters produce cunning people. Although it is somewhat biased, it is still a fact. If a place has spirit, it tends to produce outstanding people. People who often live in dark, damp places with insufficient sunlight not only are prone to rheumatoid arthritis, but their spiritual energy is also insufficient. Parental behavior. In Lanzhou, there's a comedian named Zhang Baohe, known for his comedic monologues. One of his pieces is titled "Darn It." The story is about a schoolboy who constantly uses the phrase, "darn it." The teacher, puzzled about where this habit came from, decided to visit the student's home one day. To the teacher's surprise, the parents also frequently used the phrase, "darn it." It turned out that the child had picked up this phrase from his father. While the story might be a fabrication by Mr. Zhang Baohe, it highlights a universally observed phenomenon. The behavior of parents directly influences their children's actions and speech. This subtle influence inevitably shapes the children's future behavior and potentially their success or failure, although it's not the determining factor. Family environment. The family environment primarily refers to factors such as the parent's education, upbringing, beliefs, values, economic status, family size and structure, number of siblings, family influence, social status of relatives and friends, and their relationship with the family. For example, if the parents are university professors, their influence on their children is different from that of parents who are workers or farmers. If the parents are devout Christians, their influence on their children is different from that of parents who are atheists. The impact of growing up in a wealthy family versus a poor family on a person's physical and mental health and the quality of learning conditions is different. Growing up in a large family is different from growing up in a small family. Being an only child is different from having many siblings, and even having a brother is different from having a sister. The relationship between relatives and friends, whether harmonious and mutually supportive or poor and mutually destructive, is different. The size of the local family influence has a completely different impact on people. Having uncles who are high-ranking officials or highly educated is very different from having uncles who can't even make ends meet. The influence of the family environment on people is easy to understand, so everyone should reflect on it more. Social environment. The social environment primarily refers to the era, the rise and fall of the nation, whether the city or village where one lives is economically developed, the level of civilization of the people around, the teaching level of the local schools, and the religious beliefs of the people in one's living area, etc. The era refers to the temporal differences and the realm of social changes. For example, the values of people in the Roman Empire era are different from those in the Mao Zedong era. The impact on people in the Cultural Revolution period is very different from that in the Reform and Opening Up period. The era influences the development trend of people. For example, hair dyeing, eyebrow drawing, lipstick applying, wearing miniskirts, etc., which were considered as the decadent lifestyle of the bourgeoisie during the Cultural Revolution, are now seen differently. During the Cultural Revolution, individual business was regarded as speculation and undermining socialism, but today it is considered an effective and necessary supplement to the socialist economy. Having overseas relations was a bad thing during the Cultural Revolution, but today it has become a glorious thing. When the nation is strong, everyone can hold their heads high. Even if they are in a foreign country, they feel superior. When the nation is weak, people will sigh and be depressed. Even if they are abroad, they can't lift their heads. Not to mention the strengths and weakness of military, politics, economy, and culture have an impact on everyone. Even the strength and weakness of sports also affect everyone's life. Whether the place where each person lives is economically developed or not, the overall quality of civilization and education level of the people directly affect each person's physical and mental health and quality of life. The lifestyle, consumption level, and information understood by people in economically developed areas are far better, higher, and more than those in backward areas. Some places have many literati, some have many businessmen, some have many soldiers, and some have many politicians. The main reason is the role of local economy, culture, and education. The religious beliefs of the people around influence the formation of a person's worldview. When I was a child, I used to follow the adults to the temple to burn incense and kowtow during the holidays. The temple enshrines the statues of Erlang God, local god of the land, and Dragon King. The main purpose of worshiping Erlang God is to seek his justice and ability. The purpose of worshiping local god of the land is to pray for his blessing for a good harvest. The purpose of worshiping Dragon King is not only to pray for good weather, but also because we often deal with the Yellow River, so we pray for him to bless people to swim, fetch water, catch fish, cross the river safely, and not to flood. These activities have left a deep imprint in my heart to this day, affecting my thinking. Spouse. A spouse is the most crucial and important person in one's life. Their values, worldview, thoughts, cultural literacy, lifestyle, dietary habits, behavior, emotions, headaches, fevers, and even the corns on their feet or the thorns on their fingers all affect the other person profoundly. It's like walking on thin ice, often leaving one in a dilemma, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. They are indeed the other half of oneself, another me. As the saying goes, behind every successful man, there is a great woman. I would also say that behind every failed man, there is an unreasonable woman. Conversely, behind every happy woman, there is a great man, and behind every unhappy woman, there is an unreasonable man. The influence of a spouse on a person is so great that those who are married know it like the back of their hand. There's no need for me to elaborate further. Children. Once a person has children, their focus of life begins to shift, and raising and educating children becomes their top priority in life. As the children grow, Their joys and sorrows gradually control the hearts and minds of their parents, especially their studies and marriage, which almost become the central content of their parents' lives. Just the tuition alone forces parents to get up early and work hard to make money. Any leisure and transcendence are simply out of reach. The more children, the more troubles, and people are like donkeys in a mill, needing to keep walking around the millstone until the grain is ground. Diet, dietary and living habits. Diet provides the nutrients that sustain life, and the quality of diet directly affects a person's health. People who have good nutrition from a young age have better physiological development, better complexion and mental state, fewer diseases, flexible minds, and clear thinking. If the diet is poor or biased towards certain foods, the body will not develop in a balanced way. For example, if one is overweight, some parts are more developed and some parts are weaker. Weakness can easily lead to the occurrence of diseases, and diseases will affect a person's daily life and work efficiency, which will in turn affect a person's success or failure in life. Dietary habits are closely related to a person's health. From the perspective of health preservation, habits such as eat well in the morning, full at noon, and less in the evening, eat before you are hungry, stop before you are full, and the key to diet is slow, soft, and warm, are beneficial to health and longevity. However, habits such as overeating, not eating on time, liking to eat raw and cold hard food, not paying attention to food hygiene, flies flying around in the kitchen and dining table, cooking too much, and often eating leftovers are prone to cause diseases. Living habits not only affect a person's health, but also affect a person's thinking. A person who often stays up late and never gets up in the morning sees and thinks differently from a person who rests at sunset and gets up at sunrise. Over time, the health status and life paths of the two people are very different. Health is the primary factor to ensure a person's happiness, and dietary and living habits are closely related to health, so diet and habits directly affect a person's success or failure in life. The principle is simple, but the conditions do not allow. The pressure of life is great, and everywhere is really helpless. Sudden changes. Sudden changes refer to invisible, latent, and unnoticeable factors that gradually accumulate until they reach a limit, and then suddenly erupt in a way that is beyond people's control, such as cerebral hemorrhage, sudden heart disease, sudden neurological disorder, sudden facial distortion, sudden strange disease, lightning strike, drowning, sudden car accident, being beaten, shot, suddenly arrested, like the sudden attack on the World Trade Center in the United States, and all kinds of unexpected life changes that affect one's entire life. Once encountered, the path of life will take a huge turn. The vast majority of people believe that incidents like plane crashes and sudden car accidents are bad luck, accidental encounters, but in fact, they are not accidental, but inevitable. All changes in the universe have a cause, and all changes in nature are the result of quantitative changes. Without the accumulation of quantitative changes, there would be no qualitative changes. When quantitative changes reach the limit, it will inevitably lead to qualitative changes. Plane crashes and car accidents seem to happen accidentally from the surface, but in fact, they are bound to happen. Only by standing in the perspective of the negative universe can we see the ins and outs of its changes. If a person's death is imminent, it is unavoidable. If it's not in a car accident, it will be in some other event. People who do not understand the negative universe cannot extend even a minute of their life. Just like the bullet in the gun barrel, once the trigger is pulled, the firing pin is hit, it must be shot out quickly, and it is impossible for the bullet to stay in the gun barrel for a few more seconds. Let's analyze a little bit. For example, if there are 100 passengers on a plane and the majority of people's death is imminent, then this plane is bound to crash due to either mechanical failure or operational failure. It could also crash due to encountering strong airflow or abnormal weather. In short, those who should die will inevitably die, and those who should not die will definitely survive. If a person's death is not yet due, and should not be shocked and disabled after surviving a plane crash, then even if he has bought a ticket, he cannot board the plane. Either suddenly something happens at home, or suddenly feels unwell, or halfway through he remembers that he left his passport or ticket at home, or traffic jam on the road. In short, When he arrives at the airport with a sweaty head, the plane has already taken off. Beliefs. Belief is a worldview and outlook on life that is built on the foundation of school education, environmental influences, and one's understanding of the objective material world. There are various kinds of beliefs, each unique in its own way. Here are a few main types. Firmly believing that everything in the universe is created by the greatest creator. Firmly believing that the universe was naturally formed after billions of years of evolution following the Big Bang. Believing that the universe is a material structure with nothing existing beyond tangible matter. Believing that the material in the universe is only a manifestation, and behind it exists an imperceptible but decisive force, such as laws, gods, Buddhas, demons, etc. Believing that all occurrences and changes are accidental, unpredictable, and there is no cause and effect relationship between events. Believing that everything is inevitable, subject to karmic retribution, and all things are interdependent and mutually restrictive. Believing that religion is a spiritual opium established on the basis of totem worship to numb the people. Believing that religion is an effective way to guide people to yearn for truth, goodness, and beauty, and to restrain human society towards a perfect society. Believing that religion is established by the will of God and can guide people to heaven. Believing that people have past lives and future lives, and this life is just a process, a channel, a bridge between past lives and future lives. Believing that people are just animals that happen to exist, and there are no such thing as past lives and future lives. Believing that life is just a dream, and living is about eating, drinking, and having fun, and timely entertainment. Believing that money can make the mare go, and money is God. Believing that money is the root of all evil. Believing that everything is predestined, and nothing is within people's control. Believing that everything depends on human efforts, that man can conquer nature, and that one carves out their own path in life. Believing that life is just as it is, inexplicable, and that not everything should be either fully disbelieved or fully believed. Believing that the winner is the king, and the loser is the thief. Adhering to the principle of survival of the fittest through natural selection, people should spare no effort to strive, compete, and fight for success. What kind of belief you have, you will have that kind of mental state and psychological activity. What kind of psychological activity, you will have that kind of speech and action. What kind of speech and action, you will have that kind of result and life path. Belief is the navigator of life. Different beliefs achieve different lives. If you believe that everything in the universe is created by the greatest creator, you will definitely become a Christian, Catholic, or a Muslim. If you believe that in addition to humans, there are unknown divine beings in the universe, you will become a Buddhist. If you believe that the human body has infinite energy, through conscious cultivation and development, you can have special functions and become immortal, then you may become a Taoist. If you believe that everything is inevitable, you will listen to the destiny, go with the flow, be leisurely and contented, and see everything open. If you believe that everything depends on people, man can conquer nature, you will rack your brains, fight tenaciously, and you will be overjoyed when you succeed, and you will not be able to get along with yourself when you fail, and you will be troubled for life. If you believe that money is omnipotent, then your life center is money. Money will be the biggest factor driving your daily rush. Your life will rise and fall in the river of money. If you believe that people have a future life, you will definitely pay attention to your own thoughts and words and deeds, and you will do good deeds. If you believe that people live a lifetime, there is no future life, then you will definitely pursue pleasure at all costs and ways. The kind of belief you hold will shape the kind of life you lead. 14.7 Emotions and 6 Desires. The 7 emotions refer to joy, anger, sorrow, pleasure, surprise, fear, and contemplation. The six desires refer to desire for food, sexual desire, emotional desire, desire for possession, desire for knowledge, and desire to excel. The seven emotions and six desires are human instincts, the internal factors that drive people's daily hustle and bustle. Without the seven emotions and six desires, people would either become like walking corpses or vegetative, or they would become like gods or ghosts. The seven emotions and six desires affect a person's taste, quality of life, and path. What kind of person you will become depends entirely on your control of the seven emotions and six desires. Let's analyze them one by one. Seven emotions. Joy includes love, joy, preference, liking, happiness, pleasure, etc. Anger includes anger, annoyance, rage, resentment, indignation, etc. Sorrow includes sadness, grief, sorrow, pity, compassion, melancholy, mercy, resentment, nostalgia, etc. Pleasure refers to joy, a kind of emotion that is full of happiness in body and mind. Surprise refers to astonishment, shock, panic, palpitation, wonder, exclamation, delight, surprise, etc. Fear refers to panic, fear, fright, worry, concern, dread, etc. Contemplation refers to missing, longing, yearning, etc. Six desires. Desire for food. The physiological instinct to want to eat something due to hunger, plus the desire influenced by social environment to eat well, eat more, eat delicately, eat exotic food, and eat beautifully. Sexual desire. The physiological instinct to want to touch and interact with the opposite sex and vent energy due to maturity, plus the desire influenced by social environment to explore, relieve depression and loneliness, and even to desire the opposite sex in order to reach a certain number. Emotional desire. The desire caused by the seven emotions. For example, liking can lead to the desire to be friends with someone and spend time with them. Anger can lead to the desire to retaliate. Sadness can lead to self-harm, suicide. Surprise can lead to the desire for adventure. Fear and fright can lead to the desire for safety, such as installing anti-theft doors, finding a backer, hiring security, getting married and having children, etc. Missing can lead to the desire to go home, to reunite. Desire for possession. This is an instinctive desire to claim ownership, driven by the need to expand one's scope of activities, eliminate interference, and strive for freedom. The existence of colonies, private property, and marital relationships are examples of outcomes resulting from this desire. Desire for knowledge. The desire to explore and understand the unknown field and the unknown world caused by curiosity. Desire to excel. This is the desire to be recognized by society. Everyone wants to be recognized, does not want to be forgotten by society in a corner. Everyone wants to excel, to be different, to stand out, to be respected, praised, and envied by others. So, there is the desire to excel. The desire to excel has both positive and negative aspects. Let's look at some of the ridiculous behaviors caused by the negative side. My grandfather was, when I was visiting abroad, at your age, I had already. Do you know, this watch was given to me by a relative abroad. It's very valuable. I knew this would happen. Let me tell you, so-and-so, referring to a person of prestige, is a close friend of my uncle. Their relationship is quite special. In addition to the above examples of trying to draw attention to oneself, there are other behaviors. Speaking loudly in public places to draw attention to oneself. Being tight-fisted, yet generous at the dining table to show off one's wealth. Lacking knowledge, but deliberately quoting classics. I love Beethoven's Eroica Symphony. What about you? Having no opinion of one's own, but criticizing and attacking others' views, especially picking out thorns from the words or lives of celebrities, and then posing as a scholar to attack. I think his view is flawed. I think he is. Him? Impossible, he wants. Newly decorated the house, or added high-end furniture and appliances, and then tried to invite people to visit. The behavior of liking to wear brand-name clothing or strange clothes. The behavior of liking to dye hair and have strange hairstyles. The behavior of driving a high-end car and deliberately honking the horn. The behavior of wanting to make a big splash and going to extremes. In a situation where there is no way out, saying, "What does he count? I don't bother to care about him." The behavior of pursuing unnecessary decorations. For example, women perm their hair for easy combing. So what is the purpose of wearing a high-end necklace? In addition to women's innate love of beauty, there is also the subconscious desire to stand out, which is to attract others' attention through a beautiful image and let the people around her know her existence. For example, men wear suits to be chic. So what is the purpose of wearing a high-end watch? If it's just for accurate time, it's better to wear a $3 electronic watch that is not afraid of loss, not afraid of breaking, does not need winding, costs less, and can display the month, day, and week. It seems that it's not for time. The essence is to tell people his economic strength and ability, to let everyone recognize his existence, his outstanding. The negative effect of the desire to excel actually brings waste and trouble to people, making people live more tired, more empty, more insincere. In the classification of people, I talked about the differences between people. The core factors leading to differences are: people who live by instinct are ignorant people. People who live by desire are worldly people. People who live by emotion are mortals. People who live by reason are sages. People who live by spirituality are celestials. Therefore, the impact of the 7 emotions and 6 desires on people should not be ignored, should not be unguarded, should not be complacent. 15. The phenomena of the material world. The vibrant and diverse world presents us with its surface phenomena, not its essence. All phenomena are illusory and change with the shift of time and space. If we only observe the surface phenomena and do not grasp their essence, we will always be lost, perceiving the world as impermanent and feeling directionless. Let's analyze the example of Newton discovering gravity. The falling apple is a common surface phenomenon. So, what is its essence? Why doesn't it go up? Why doesn't it fall diagonally, but vertically, excluding wind factors? It turns out that all things have gravity. Because the gravity of the earth is greater than the gravity of any other object around the apple when it leaves the tree, the apple falls vertically. This is inevitable, not accidental. The essence of the surface phenomenon of the apple falling is gravity, which is invisible and latent. Materialists before Newton would not acknowledge the existence of gravity, even though gravity is eternally present. We see birds migrating, geese flying south. The essence of this phenomenon is that the weather is getting cooler. We see rats running around, fish constantly jumping out of the water, dogs barking, horses neighing. The essence of this phenomenon is an impending earthquake. We see people with full-faced smiles, flattering their superiors. The essence is to gain benefits. We see plants sprouting, flowering, fruiting, and then withering. The essence is the change of seasons. We see people studying hard. One of the essences is to improve their social status. We see businessmen busy negotiating, ordering, transporting, selling, making phone calls, sending faxes, inviting people to dinner, understanding the market, gathering intelligence information. The essence of these surface phenomena is to make money. We see people bustling on the street, busy with their activities. The essence of this activity is the desire to obtain something, or simply to survive. We see someone with a bad complexion, thin body. The essence is malnutrition or illness. We see wars happening, car accidents happening, people getting sick, some people rising, some people having bad luck. The essence behind these phenomena is karma, the operation of Tao. We see people constantly being born, constantly dying, in a repeating cycle of birth and death. The essence of this surface phenomenon is the transformation of the spiritual life. All phenomena are not the essence. The essence is invisible and latent, and it determines all phenomena. Phenomena are illusory and will soon disappear. Not to mention that flowers, trees, insects, birds, wind, and clouds will soon disappear. Even people are just a phenomenon. They will also disappear, just the length of time is slightly different. The above phenomena are to tell you that the vast majority of people are confused by the surface phenomena of things and cannot see the essence behind the phenomena. The busier people are, the more they are bound by surface phenomena. The phenomena of the material world affect people's thinking, psychological activities, and behavior. 16. Personality. In the section on karmic debts from past lives, we have already touched upon the concept of personality. So, what exactly is personality? Personality is the characteristic of the life carrier that a person inherits from their past life. It is not a trait inherited from one's parents. Personality will determine the overall direction of a person's development. It is commonly said that a person's wealth, career success, and successful children are the blessings they have cultivated over several lifetimes, and this is indeed the case. For instance, if a person's life carrier in their previous life was a wolf, then their personality would be ferocious. However, if this wolf was captured and killed by a hunter before it reached adulthood or starved to death due to a lack of food, it would be reincarnated into the livestock world, or even into the human world. Upon arriving in the human world, due to factors such as the educational environment, his ferocious nature may not be revealed, and he may not commit any ferocious acts. In such a case, in the next life, he will continue to return to the human world. Through the trials and cultivation of life in the human world, he gradually sheds his ferocious nature until he completely loses the characteristics of a wolf. In the next life, he may have the opportunity to enter the 1,000-year world. If he practices well in the 1,000-year world, he will be reincarnated into the 10,000-year world in another life. And from the 10,000-year world, he will advance to the Elysium world. Conversely, he will decline. For example, if a person behaves ferociously during his human stage, then in his next life he will be reincarnated into the livestock world or animal world, all the way down to the plant realm, netherworld, frozen layer, inflamed layer. For information on how life is transformed in the 36-dimensional spaces, what the conditions and basis for transformation are, and why there are so many different personalities in human society, please refer to the chapter of life. Personality is the inherent nature and characteristics of a person. It is a kind of potential energy that is very difficult for a person to manage and control. The type of personality one has shapes the kind of life they lead unless a person strictly self-improves and self-cultivates. 17. Demonic pranks. Demonic pranks are the tricks played by life in other high-dimensional spaces in the human world. Some are just for their happiness, and some are punishments for people, just like the pranks people play on other animals and insects. I dare not talk more about this. I only provide the following examples for everyone to think about. On October 16, 1829, a British fast ship called Mammoth, carrying 21 sailors, sailed out of Sydney Harbor. 5 days later, a big storm overturned the ship, and all the crew fell into the water. Fortunately, there was a reef nearby, and they climbed up to wait. 3 days later, a wheel ship called Lifechanyuan rescued them. 3 days later, Lifechanyuan was unlucky and capsized. 8 hours after the incident, a ship called Gabbana Lady rescued them again, but disaster followed. Gabbana Lady only sailed for 3 hours, and a fire broke out on the ship. Everyone escaped by lifeboat. While drifting, they were rescued by a fast boat, Hummet. 18 hours later, Hummet encountered a storm and sank at sea. After struggling in the water for more than 10 hours, they were miraculously rescued by the male ship, Cupid. Not long after, Cupid hit a reef, and the crew fell into the water again. In despair, they were rescued by the Heliopola's passenger ship. In less than 2 weeks, they experienced 5 disasters and 5 rescues, and no one died. This is a typical demonic prank for fun. In 1899, someone was struck by lightning in his own yard in Italy. 30 years later, this person's son was struck by lightning and died in the same place in the same way. On October 8, 1949, this person's grandson was also struck by lightning in the yard. 3 generations of people were struck by lightning in the same place. This is not a coincidence or an accident, but a demonic prank. In 1918, a Canadian major named Saint Mayfort was struck by lightning. In 1924, he was struck by lightning again and became hemiplegic. In 1930, lightning struck him again, and he became completely paralyzed. 2 years later, he passed away. In June 1934, lightning struck his grave and shattered the tomb. The 18th-century British poet Fauchnawilliam, who became famous for writing the long poem Reef, was shipwrecked and drowned at sea when he arrived off the Cape of Good Hope in 1769. Is it a coincidence? Everyone has heard of the manifestation of Bodhisattva. There are many examples of the manifestation of Bodhisattva in ancient and modern times at home and abroad. I only cite one example here. In a certain region, after spring sowing, there was no rain for 2 consecutive months, and most of the seedlings died. The drought made people unable to sow again, and the season had passed. Even if they sowed again, they would not mature. Farmers who rely on the sky for food are anxious. Finally, with the tacit approval of the local government, people from dozens of villages spontaneously built a Dragon King temple on the bank of the Yellow River. They burned incense and kowtowed, praying for the Dragon King to manifest and bring rain. By the evening of the 3rd day, heavy rain fell in the region. Is it a coincidence? There is a woman in our village who has never been pregnant. When her husband died at the age of 45, she remarried. 2 months later, her menstruation stopped. She firmly believed that she was pregnant, and then her belly gradually enlarged. She was overjoyed and praised her new husband's outstanding ability whenever she met someone. 6 months later, she went to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor said that this was a false pregnancy, and there was no fetus in her uterus. The result was a false alarm. This phenomenon is also a demonic prank. Most people may have some understanding of the concept of disturbing the earth on Tai Sui's head. Tai Sui typically refers to a type of fungal body unearthed from the soil. Whoever digs it up will face the dire consequences of family ruin and death. This is not an exaggeration. It's a fact. Therefore, no one dares to disturb the earth on Tai Sui's head. The method to avoid this disaster is to choose an auspicious day and time before breaking ground, and to avoid the forbidden position of Tai Sui. Now, let's consider the curse of the pharaoh. Most individuals who disturb the pharaoh's peace contract strange diseases and die. The director of the Cairo Museum, Mr. Gamal Meller, did not believe in this. He once said, "I have dealt with ancient Egyptian tombs and mummies many times in my life. Am I not still alive?" However, less than 4 weeks after making this statement, he suddenly passed away. British Egyptologist Walter Emley, despite his lifetime of expertise, desired to excavate the statue of Osiris, the death god revered by ancient Egyptians. Just as he finally discovered and displayed the god's statue, he suffered a stroke and was paralyzed in front of the statue. All these individuals can be said to have disturbed the earth on Tai Sui's head. In reality, these phenomena are all examples of demonic pranks. Demonic pranks are phenomena that cannot be explained by conventional scientific principles and are considered to be within the realm of superscience. Many situations can lead to disaster when people become overly emotional or boastful. For example, a person who is in good health and thinks to themselves, "I am very healthy," generally won't encounter any issues. However, if the same person starts to brag out loud, saying, "I am very healthy, I will never fall ill," it won't be long before their health starts to deteriorate. This is an example of the influence that demonic pranks can have on individuals. 18. Changes in the heavenly world. The Earth universe has 36 dimensions, which I have briefly described in the space chapter. The heavenly realm is one of the 36 dimensions. It is the world of gods, and the changes in the heavenly realm have an impact on people. Let's take one example. First, let's begin with an analysis of Centuries written by Nostradamus. Centuries has accurately predicted numerous events that have occurred, such as the author's own cause of death, the timing and manner of death of King Henry II of France, and more. The descriptions of World War II scenarios are even more detailed, even predicting Hitler's name, and also phenomena like women flying in the sky in a ship. What did Dr. Nostradamus rely on to predict the future? Was it spiritual revelation, logical reasoning, extensive knowledge, exceptional skills, imagination, dreams? None of these. His thinking transcended time and space, and he was able to accurately perceive these scenarios. As I say this, what evidence do I have? Please consider my own practice. Influenced by Mr. Zhang Xiaoping, Zhang Hongbao, Lifechanyuan, and others, I have also earnestly explored Qigong and the mysteries of the human body. Later, through the principles of Bagua orientation, Qimengduanjia, and Feng Shui, I attempted to create a simple and easy-to-practice method. Following this method, I practiced intermittently. I had discussed this with my office colleagues in 1982, especially during my studies at the University of International Business and Economics in Beijing. I practiced every night on the school playground for about 3 months, during which I felt the existence of the Qi field and its impact on me. After moving to Zimbabwe, I continued to practice. In 1996, while practicing in the backyard of 10 Forest Road, Mount Pleasant, I suddenly saw my pulse beating with my eyes closed. Then, there was such a phenomenon. One night, while lying in bed reading a book until late at night, I suddenly felt sleepy. So, I turned off the light, covered my head, and went asleep. In less than a minute, my consciousness was still relatively clear at the time, and my eyes were closed. I suddenly saw a large garden. The scene was very realistic and clear, somewhat like the scenery described by Tao Yuanming in The Land of Peach Blossoms. But I didn't see anyone. This scene was fascinating. It could be described as a fairyland. Since then, I have seen some more scenes, and along with some scenes and insights from dreams, I have summarized the concept of 36-dimensional spaces. The real scenes I saw with my eyes closed, whether they were the result of practice or the result of unconventional thinking or the revelation of some power, cannot be definitively determined. Nowadays, there is a type of 3-dimensional and 4-dimensional image available in the market. Many people might have already experimented with it and seen the images hidden within these 3-dimensional and 4-dimensional images. There is a real scene behind the surface phenomenon, which is no longer a mystery. Turning our attention back to the prophecies of Nostradamus, he truly saw the scenarios that would occur in a few years, decades, and even hundreds of years later. Time and space were no longer obstacles for him. The question we want to raise here is, were the events predicted in centuries, including the occurrence, development process, and outcome of World War II, and the female astronaut piloting a spaceship into space, etc., accidental? As we all know, accidental events are unpredictable. If a person can accurately predict what will happen 300 years later, without a doubt, these events are inevitable. So why should there be a world war? According to the calculations of Jehovah's Witnesses based on the Bible, a war broke out in the heavenly world in 1914. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea! For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Revelation 12 verses 7-12. This means that the great changes in the human world are influenced by the changes in the heavenly world. What can people do? So why did Jews, Christians, mainly in Europe, and people in Buddhist countries, mainly in Asia, suffer in World War II? This is because Jews and Christians are enemies of the devil Satan, and people in Buddhist countries are those who have betrayed Satan. When Satan comes to the human world, the first people he retaliates against are his enemies and those who betray him. This is obvious. In short, the changes in the heavenly world directly affect humanity, influencing the trajectory of everyone's life. This is beyond self-control. By now, everyone must have recognized the inevitability of the universe and life. The universe is orderly, life has a trajectory, there is absolutely no accident in the universe and life. Everything is inevitable. Some people will ask, since everything is inevitable, why do we still study, work, and hustle? Why not just sit and wait? My answer is, if you can sit down calmly, without complaints, without regrets, without desires, without fear, then you are already amazing. Your level of cultivation is already very high. You have transcended the mundane. The question is, can you? When you come to the human world, you are facing the constraints and pushes of trillions of factors. You cannot resist them. As long as you are a person, you will be involuntary. You must study, work hard, hustle. What you should do, you still have to do. What you should think, you still have to think. What you should eat, you must eat. Who you should deal with, you still have to deal with. So, does this mean that we can only resign ourselves to fate and have no way out? No, absolutely not. What has been discussed above is only for the general public. When we understand the mystery of the universe and know the true meaning of life, we can exert subjective initiative and use time and space to readjust our life's coordinate points and coordinate system. Once we start thinking and doing this, we are no longer a member of the general public. The trajectory of our life begins to change. We have gone beyond the three worlds and no longer subject to the five elements. We can transcend life through practice and cultivation, jump out of the realm of desire, the realm of form, formless realm, get rid of the bondage of the five elements, and reach the other shore. The conclusion is, the universe is orderly, life is inevitable, and only through practice and cultivation can people move from the kingdom of necessity to the kingdom of freedom. Practice and cultivation must have goals. So what are our goals? The lowest goal, health, wealth, freedom. Midterm goal, being free from the secular even while remaining in the secular world. Being away from worldly affairs in your mind even when you must interact with them. Doing your best to complete your duty to be free from cares and worries. Remaining ordinary while transcending beyond the ordinary. The highest goal, transcend time and space, rush to eternity. Overall goal, achieve perfect human nature. So, what is the standard for perfect human nature?